Good morning, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, today is a puzzling day for me. I'm just looking at the difference between the Filipino and the Westerner, the foreigner. Like, I'm a foreigner, looking at the difference. And I'm just looking at how a Westerner comes over here, and it's fair to say that they are often much more educated than the average Filipino. They're more knowledgeable about the world. They're more experienced in business, in a great number of things. They probably know more about how things work, electricity, power, how the world works, how things actually tick over in the world. I mean, they know more about, probably know more about astronomy. They probably know more about the stars, about how the world actually turns. All of these things they are probably more experienced and knowledgeable in, and they come over here, and this is what I see. When they come here, they make their little part of the Philippines like the West. So I've been to the homes of several quite well off, but only averagely well off foreigners from their own land, and they come here. They can afford to rent a pretty nice house around some from anything from 15 to 20 or 25,000 pesos a month, which is far more than most Filipinos will ever see in a month of earning and working very, very hard. But they're able to come over, and what do? Well, they have their air conditioning. You must have your air conditioning because the place is so hot. And they have a refrigerator that's large enough to service a Filipino family of about 12, because Filipinos don't usually have a refrigerator, and they have a widescreen TV, and they have all of the best electronic equipment. They have a nice car that probably costs 1 million pesos. They have all of these things. They have a new motorcycle, which is probably the top of the range, and they have all of these things, and they have someone to clean the house for them, and they have, in other words, they have a little piece of America, or a little piece of Germany, or a little piece of whatever it was that they left. That's what they have, and they create that. Now, as a result of that, they eat very well. I should also add that they eat very well. They eat out at good restaurants. They enjoy the food, probably that is as close to what they are used to in their homeland as is possible. So they search it out. They're usually retired, and if they're not retired, they're in some kind of a business which allows them a great deal of freedom in choosing how they want to live. Now, and with all of this, what do I see? Well, I don't see anyone who is very happy. That's for sure. Now, as I always say, go to the source, so you're not expected here to believe what I say. If you want to know what the average expat living here is thinking, feeling, then just go to any number of the expat sites. And the dominant theme of the expat sites is complaining. Now, I'm looking at the word complaining. What does it mean? Well, it indicates that you're not satisfied with something that is happening. So whatever it is that is the subject of your complaint is the source of your unhappiness in that particular moment. So we have a person who has everything, has fled to this country, for her own reasons, usually him. And we ask the question, is he happy? Well, if you go to the source, as I've said, don't take anything that I say as gospel. Go to the source and find out for yourself. Does the average expat who is posting over a period of time, watch these sites over a period of time, and you'll get to know the faces on there, the cyber faces on there who are posting the most, and you will hear that they've come to a land which is simply not good enough for them. This is what I see. Don't take my word for it. Go to these expat sites and see for yourself. Now, for myself, I don't understand easily why someone would choose to come and live in a particular land that they are not happy with, that nothing is good enough for them. The restaurants don't serve in quite the right order. They might serve the dessert first or the starter last. Nothing is quite good enough for them. They can't get anything fixed easily. Workers don't clean up after them. Any one of a million reasons to be unhappy, they find it. Now, on the other hand, look at a Filipino. Now, I'm an expat, a foreigner, and I'm living in a hilltop community who have been living like this for, well, in my mother-in-law's case, she's lived like this all her life. She's lived in a very simple house, which, if you've looked at any of the other videos, you will have seen that house. It's very, very basic. For 48 years, she didn't have running water. For 48 years, she walked down a long, steep hill to bring up water. For 48 years, she was wife to a simple farmer who was illiterate, couldn't write his name, couldn't read. She is not even so much more literate than her husband was. She is a good Christian woman, probably the best Christian that I've ever met in my life, the most Christian I've ever met. She is honest and truthful and ethical. Now, she's brought her children up in the Filipino way. Now this morning, just to illustrate this morning I went in to her house to get water for my coffee, and sitting there is Talik. I say to Talik, why no school? She doesn't answer me. She looks at me. I'm saying again, why aren't you going to school? And then in my Western way, I tell her, you'll just grow up stupid. She won't grow up any more stupid than she is now, but she'll grow up ignorant is what I'm trying to say to her. And I'm trying to say, why don't you understand that you cannot not learn and arrive at being an adult in any worthy kind of way? Well, these are all Western ways of looking at things. Yes, so here is the Filipino bringing up their child their way, and here, as a typical Westerner, I would have been bringing up my child my way. Well, maybe my way wasn't quite as traditional as normal, but let's look at a more traditional way of bringing up a child, say in America. Well, if they do wrong, they're punished. If they do right, they're validated. This all makes total sense. This isn't a good family, a good household, right? If they're not in a good household, they get the crap beaten out of them. Of course, quite illegally now, because now the government have decided that they're going to protect children against their parents. So that's outlawed, but punishment is still heavily there. And if the child transgresses severely, then they are punished severely, and they may be sent to their room, and they may have time out for days at a time. And the punishment is strictly adhered to in what we would think of as a disciplined house. And that produces the foreigner that we know. That produces the children that we have, say, in America. Now, suicide is actually quite high in America, but it's not publicized. Suicide among soldiers serving in places like Iraq is apparently quite high, but it's not publicized. Now, what do we have in a child here? Well, as a foreigner looking on, I'm just mystified at how it works. Because if a child is punished here, they're told off, and then the punishment is forgotten, and the child is welcomed back as per normal, as if they haven't done anything at all. They can do terrible things. They can behave badly, as we've seen in some of our other videos. They can disappear for a couple of days. I've seen this happen twice. Our own Balalut just didn't come home one night. Well, they have a different way of life here, in that Balalut lives with his grandmother in Nanai's house, and his father lives about half a mile away in another house. But they also have another house which, these are very, very simple homes, by the way, all of them, has a house down by the road which his mother stays in most of the time. So on this particular occasion, he heard that there was a funeral, and at the funeral there will be a lot of food, and Balalut is the wolf. He loves food, so he decides that he's going to go there. Well, he tells one of his cousins, tell Nanai that I'm doing this, and of course the cousin forgets all about it, and we don't know where Balalut is, and he gets punished when he gets home. Well, he gets told off. He gets what I call machine gunned by Nanai. That's that very high-pitched Visayan language, rapidly delivered in staccato terms, and it sounds like machine gunning to me. So I always say to Beth, "Oh, is Balalut being machine gunned again?" So he gets told off, but he's very reinstated to normal status very, very quickly. I'm looking on and saying, well, his bad behaviour is not being corrected. Then I go in today, see Talik. Is Talik going to school? No, she's not going to school. I asked Beth, well, why is she not going to school? She can't find her slipper. The idea in the West that a child could say to the parent, I'm not going to school today, and the parent say, really? Tell me. Well, I can't find my shoe. I'm sure that the parent would say, that's all right, dear. You just wait until you can find your shoe. Probably when it's too late to go to school, and then you'll find your shoe. And then we'll take you out shopping. I don't think so. But here, that may well happen. Talik may indeed say, I can't find my slipper, not go to school. She's not feeling bad. So, when I go out, or when Beth and I go out and we go somewhere, we'll probably take Talik with us. So, instead of being punished for bad behaviour, she will in fact be rewarded by going out on a trip. And she'll go somewhere and probably eat she'll eat out somewhere, because we all have to eat. So you can see that this is what childhood in the Philippines, this is what it means. This is what childhood in the Philippines is like. You can do something wrong and get away scot-free. Now, normally whenever you go through a whole series of actions. That's my wife. Yes, I see you. Whenever you go through a series of actions, if you were talking about taking care of a car and you said someone was asking you about why your car is not working anymore, and they'll ask you a few questions. Do you have it serviced? No. Do you clean it? No. Well, do you service it yourself? No. Do you change the oil? No. Do you check the water? No. When it needs to be repaired, do you have the repair done, or just sort of kind of just limp along? Yeah, I just limp along. And now the car's broken down, yes? Well, after all of those things that you've omitted to do, a broken down car would be a logical end result. But here we are. We have all the luxury of the West. We have all of the video games. We have the super thumbs of any child because they're doing the games. We have a lack of attention, normally have a lack of respect. These things are all there in this child, apparently, that has everything. Look at what happens to second generation rich. Those in the first generation who have worked damned hard for what they've got and have succeeded because of their hard work, they have children. Now, because they've suffered during their time, they've gone without, they've sacrificed, they've done things which they didn't like, they've done jobs that they don't like in order to get some capital together, and then they've worked long, long hours to be a success. What do? Well, they don't want their children to suffer, so the children get everything. Well, actually they don't get everything, because the parent who is very successful and wealthy is very busy working. This is my take on it. And rather than spend any time with their children, because they simply don't have time, they have a BMW. They don't have a crappy old car that they had to work real hard for and then try to keep going. They probably get a BMW. When I first moved to Florida with my son, I was a single parent then, he came home from his first day at a school and said, "I don't believe how spoiled the children are." He said, "I actually heard 2 girls today who were really upset with their parents because their parents had bought them the wrong colour new car." So we end up with all of that good stuff being done.
And
yes, darling.
we're going soon now.
Okay. I'm talking too much again. So we end up with that as a grown-up, and then we look at what we have from all of the wrong kind of behaviour to the child, the wrong kind of discipline, total lack of discipline. That girl out there, Talik, is able to say, "I'm not going to school today because I can't find my slipper." Now, wouldn't you think that that would bring up a woman who nobody would want? But you just saw the woman that came over and kissed me and said, "Honey, we're going soon," who I would do anything for, who is cute, is beautiful, is loving, is everything that I would want in a wife. She's untidy, of course. But I'll put up with that, okay?
I know.
And she's saying, "I know."
I know.
She's forgiving, she's loving to children, and generous to a fault. And yet she was brought up all wrong. She hasn't been punished when she did something wrong. She hasn't been rewarded when she did something right. How did she end up like that? You're messing up my thinking. Logic has gone out the window. It's not working for me anymore. Look at you.
Yeah.
Go away. Stop being so cute.
It's 9 o'clock now. Mananglina has a meeting.
So, I haven't answered any questions. I've only posed them. But why should I be the only one that's confused?
Sometimes you need to confuse so that you will find an answer. You know? Because out of confusion, you can mold an answer.
Don't you hate that woman? Go away. I've been bashed again. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.